The xenobiology auditorium was massive. It had to be. Students from 40 different worlds attended the Galactic Academy, and each species needed different environmental controls. Some breathed methane, others needed water tanks. A few floated in anti-gravity fields. The room adapted to everyone, shifting temperature and atmosphere in individual zones around each student. Daiho sat in the third row, breathing normal Earth air in his small bubble of space. He was the only human in the entire academy. That made him a curiosity to some, a concern to others. Humans were new to the galactic community. Their planet was still being evaluated. Earth was considered a death world by most species, a place where everything seemed designed to kill everything else. Professor HFY floated at the front of the room, his purple tentacles waving as he spoke. He was an Andraxian, a species that had been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years before humans discovered fire. Today's lecture was about dangerous predators from various worlds. The holographic display above him showed creatures that made the students gasp and whisper. Today we examine apex predators from Category 5 Death Worlds, Professor HFY announced. His voice carried through the translation devices everyone wore. We begin with Earth as we have a native consultant available. All eyes turned to Daiho. He felt the weight of their stares. Some species had eyes, others had sensors. A few used echolocation, but they were all looking at him now. The first hologram appeared. A great white shark, massive and ancient, swimming through dark water. Its teeth were visible even in the projection. Each tooth was the size of Daiho's hand. The Carcharodon carcharius, Professor HFY said, a prehistoric killing machine that has remained virtually unchanged for 400 million years. It can detect a single drop of blood in an Olympic swimming pool. Its bite force exceeds 18,000 newtons. It has no natural predators. Hierarchies, a Veltari student sitting beside Daiho, made a sound like wind through leaves. Her species were herbivores from a peaceful garden world. She looked terrified. Her scaled skin had turned pale white. Humans swim in waters with these creatures? She whispered to Daiho. Sometimes, Daiho replied quietly. Shark attacks are rare, though. You are more likely to be struck by lightning. Hierarchies did not look comforted. She probably did not know what lightning was. The hologram changed. A massive crocodile now filled the space above them, jaws open, showing rows of teeth. The creature was armored with thick scales that looked like they could stop bullets. The saltwater crocodile, Professor HFY continued, another prehistoric survivor. They can grow to 7 meters long and weigh over 1,000 kilograms. They are ambush predators capable of explosive speed despite their size. Their bite force is the strongest of any living creature on Earth. They can crush bone like you or I would crush a dry leaf. Jinho, a Thorian student with natural armor plating, grunted from the back of the room. His species were warriors from a desert planet. They prided themselves on strength. But even Jinho seemed impressed by the crocodile's power. More creatures followed. A box jellyfish nearly invisible in the water, with venom that could kill in minutes. A polar bear, the largest land predator on Earth, capable of smelling prey from 20 kilometers away through ice and snow. A hippopotamus, which surprised everyone because it looked round and harmless until Professor HFY explained. It killed more humans in Africa than lions, crocodiles, and all other large animals combined. The class was in shock. Even species from dangerous worlds seemed disturbed. Earth had so many predators, so many ways to die, and these were just a few examples. How do humans survive? Asked Sora, a Lumenis student whose body glowed with soft blue light. Her species lived in peaceful oceans on a world without predators. Your planet seems designed to kill you. Daiho smiled slightly. We adapt, we learn. We respect the dangerous animals and give them space. Most of these creatures do not hunt humans. We are not their natural prey. But accidents happen, J1 clicked. He was a Krell, an insectoid species with a logical mind. Your species must have defense mechanisms. Armor, venom, natural weapons. We have intelligence, Daiho said, and endurance. Humans can outlast most predators. We are persistence hunters. We do not give up. The discussion continued. Students debated which Earth predator was the most dangerous. Jinho argued for the crocodile because of its armor and bite force. Hierarchies thought the shark was worse because you could not see it coming in deep water. J1 calculated that the box jellyfish had the most efficient killing mechanism relative to its size. Daiho listened quietly, taking notes on his datapad. He did not participate in the debate. His expression was neutral, almost amused. Sora noticed his silence. Her lights flickered in a pattern that indicated curiosity in her species. Deho, you are very calm about this. Are you not afraid of these creatures? They live on your world. Some of them hunt humans. Deho looked up from his notes. We respect them. But no, they are not what keeps humans awake at night. The room quieted. Even Professor Kelvar's tentacles stopped moving. The ancient professor turned to face Deho directly. Several of his 8 eyes focused on the human student. That is an interesting statement, Professor Kelvar said slowly. You have observed predators that can crush bone, inject lethal venom, and hunt with perfect efficiency. Yet you claim humans do not fear them most. Please enlighten us, Mr. Kim. What does humanity fear? Deho set down his datapad. He stood up, which made some students lean back. Humans were tall compared to many species. His movements were careful and deliberate. Professor, with respect, none of the creatures you showed us are the deadliest on Earth. Silence filled the auditorium. You could have heard a pin drop in any of the 40 different atmospheric zones. Professor Kelvar's skin shifted to a darker purple, which Deho had learned meant surprise or irritation in Andraxians. Mr. Kim, I have researched Earth's fauna extensively for this lecture. I have consulted your planet's scientific databases. These are confirmed as apex predators with the highest threat ratings. They are apex predators, Deho agreed. They are powerful. They are dangerous. They kill humans sometimes. But they are not the deadliest creature on Earth, not even close. Then what is? Jinho demanded from the back. What kills more humans than a creature with the most powerful bite force in your world? Daiho looked around the room. Every student was watching him now, even the ones who normally did not pay attention to lectures. He could feel their curiosity, their skepticism, their confusion. Professor, may I use the holographic display? Daiho asked. Professor Kelvar hesitated, then gestured with a tentacle. Proceed. I am curious to see what you believe we have overlooked. Daiho connected his datapad to the room's system. He pulled up a file he had prepared weeks ago, knowing this lecture was coming. The hologram above the class changed. The image showed a tiny creature. It was thin, with long legs and transparent wings. It looked fragile, harmless, nothing like the massive predators they had been discussing. The mosquito, Daiho said quietly. For a moment, nobody reacted. Then Jinho started laughing. It was a deep, booming sound that echoed through the auditorium. Other students joined in. Even some of the more serious species made sounds that indicated amusement. Professor Kelvar's tentacles writhed in what might have been the Andraxian equivalent of laughter. Mr. Kim, surely this is a joke. That creature is smaller than my smallest tentacle tip. It has no teeth, no venom sacs of significance, no 750,000. Daiho interrupted. The laughter stopped. That is how many humans mosquitoes kill every year. Daiho continued. His voice was steady, matter-of-fact.
Not in all of history.
Every single year. Your great white shark? It kills fewer than 10 humans annually. Crocodiles kill about 1,000. Hippos around 500. But mosquitoes? 750,000 human deaths. Every year. For as long as humans have kept records. The room was silent again, but this time it was different. This was not the silence of disbelief. It was the silence of shock. Daiho looked at Professor Kelvar and said simply, "That is what humans fear most." The silence broke like glass shattering. Students erupted in confused chatter. Jinho's laughter had stopped completely. Even Professor Kelvar seemed frozen, his tentacles still in midair. Hiram was the first to speak. Her voice shook slightly. 750,000? Every year? That cannot be correct. That number is higher than the total population of my home city. Daiho nodded. It is correct. And that is just human deaths. Mosquitoes kill countless other animals too. But humans keep the best records, so we know our numbers. But how? Jaewon's mandibles clicked rapidly. A sign of agitation in his species. That creature has no weapons, no claws, no fangs. How does something so small kill so many? Daiho manipulated the holographic display. New images appeared, charts, graphs, maps showing disease spread across continents. Mosquitoes do not kill directly. They are vectors. They carry diseases from one human to another. They are nature's perfect delivery system for death. The display showed microscopic images of various pathogens. Malaria, dengue fever, Zika virus, West Nile virus. yellow fever, chikungunya, Japanese encephalitis, and dozens more. Each one can be deadly. Each one travels inside a mosquito. Sora's lights dimmed to a worried blue. Your world has diseases that travel between individuals? Through insect bites? Yes, Deho said simply. Mosquitoes bite an infected person, pick up the pathogen, then bite a healthy person and transmit it. One mosquito can infect multiple people in a single night. He brought up another graph. Malaria alone has killed more humans than anything else in history. More than all wars combined. More than all natural disasters. More than all other diseases. Estimates suggest malaria has killed half of all humans who ever lived. Half. The number hung in the air like a weight. Students who had been whispering fell silent. Professor Kelvar's purple skin had gone pale. Jinho stood up in the back row. His armor plates shifted, which usually meant he was preparing for a challenge. But his voice was different now. Less certain. Surely your species has eliminated these insects by now. With your technology, it should be simple. Deho shook his head. We have tried. We have reduced their numbers in cities and towns. We use nets, repellents, and pesticides. We drain standing water where they breed. We have reduced malaria deaths by 60% in the last 20 years, but we cannot eliminate mosquitoes completely. Why not? Hiram asked. If they kill so many humans, why allow them to exist at all? The display changed again. This time it showed an ecosystem diagram. Food webs, energy flows. Because mosquitoes are food, Deho explained. Birds eat them. Bats eat them. Fish eat their larvae. Other insects eat them. If we removed all mosquitoes, we would collapse entire ecosystems. He looked around the room. Every species was listening now with full attention. Humans learned something important about our world. Everything is connected. You cannot remove one piece without affecting everything else, even the pieces that hurt us. Professor Kelvar finally moved. His tentacles gestured toward the display. Mr. Kim, can you explain how these mosquitoes detect and locate humans? Surely prey species on your world have evolved defenses. We have some defenses, Deho said. Darker skin provides more protection. Some people produce chemicals in their sweat that repel mosquitoes naturally, but these defenses are weak. Mosquitoes have been hunting warm-blooded animals for over 100 million years. They are very good at it. He brought up an image of mosquito anatomy. They detect carbon dioxide from our breath from up to 50 meters away. They sense body heat. They recognize certain chemicals in human sweat. They even see an infrared to find warm bodies in darkness. And they are silent. You usually do not know a mosquito is there until it has already bitten you. Sora's glow flickered. They hunt at night? When humans are sleeping and vulnerable? Many species do, yes, Deho confirmed. Some hunt during the day. Some prefer dawn and dusk. There is almost no time when you are completely safe from mosquitoes in infected areas. Jaewon's mandibles were still now. He was thinking. You said they breed in standing water. How much water? Any amount, Deho replied. A bottle cap. A flower petal. A footprint filled with rain. If water sits still for more than a few days, mosquitoes can breed there. One female can lay up to 300 eggs at a time. Those eggs can survive drought and cold, waiting for water to return. The implications settled over the class like a heavy blanket. These were not just deadly creatures. They were everywhere. They were small. They were numerous. And they were nearly impossible to escape. Professor, Sora said quietly, addressing Kelvar but looking at Deho. When you presented the great white shark, you said it was a prehistoric killing machine that had not changed in millions of years. Is that also true of mosquitoes? Deho answered before Kelvar could. Yes. Mosquitoes have been around for at least 100 million years. Probably longer. They fed on dinosaurs. They have survived every extinction event. They adapted to every climate zone except Antarctica. They evolved alongside mammals, learning to hunt us more efficiently over millions of years. He paused, then added, and they are still evolving. Some mosquito populations are developing resistance to our pesticides. They are learning to avoid our traps. They are adapting to urban environments. The battle between humans and mosquitoes never ends. Professor Kelvar moved closer to the holographic display. He studied the images with all 8 eyes. This is remarkable and troubling. Mr. Kim, you mentioned earlier that humans have reduced malaria deaths significantly. How did your species achieve this? Deho brought up new data. Treatment centers, vaccination programs, bed net distribution. We learned to fight on multiple fronts. We treat the disease with medicine. We prevent infection with bed nets treated with insecticide. We eliminate breeding grounds where possible. We educate people about protection methods. We developed vaccines, though they are not perfect yet. Most importantly, he continued, we share this knowledge globally. Rich nations help poor nations. Scientists share their research freely. Because mosquito-borne diseases do not respect borders, they are a problem for all of humanity, so all of humanity works together to fight them. Hiram made that wind through leaves sound again, but softer this time. Your species fights an enemy that has killed billions of your people. An enemy that still kills hundreds of thousands every year. An enemy that you cannot fully destroy without harming your world. And yet you continue. You adapt. You persist. We do not have a choice, THFY said. Giving up means dying, so we keep fighting. We keep improving our methods. We keep learning. That is what humans do. Jinho sat down slowly. His armor plates settled flat against his body, a sign of respect in Thorian culture. I spoke foolishly earlier. I thought size and strength were the only measures of danger. I was wrong. Jaewon clicked his mandibles in a new pattern. THFY had learned this meant agreement. My species values logic and efficiency. Mosquitoes are perfectly efficient killers. They require minimal energy. They reproduce rapidly. They exploit a delivery system that is nearly undetectable. From a purely objective standpoint, they are superior predators to anything else on your world. Professor Kelvar's tentacles moved in complex patterns. THFY could not read all Andraxian expressions yet, but this one seemed to be deep thought. Class, I believe we have learned something valuable today. Danger comes in many forms. The most obvious threats are not always the most deadly. Sometimes the smallest creatures are the most dangerous precisely because they are small and overlooked. He turned to THFY. Mr. Kim, I apologize for my initial dismissal. Your knowledge would like to request your assistance in preparing materials about disease vectors for future classes. Other students would benefit from understanding Earth's unique challenges. THFY nodded. I would be happy to help, Professor. The lecture continued with Professor Kelvar asking more questions about mosquitoes and diseases. Other students joined in. The atmosphere had changed. They were no longer treating Earth as simply a death world full of monsters. They were beginning to understand that survival on Earth required different kinds of strength. Not just physical power, but endurance, cooperation, and constant adaptation. As the class ended, Sora approached THFY. Her bioluminescent patterns were curious and friendly. THFY, may I ask you something personal? Of course, he replied. Have you lost anyone to mosquito-borne disease? You spoke about this with such knowledge, but also with emotion. THFY was quiet for a moment. My grandmother died of complications from dengue fever. I was 12. That was when I decided to study xenobiology. I wanted to understand why humans had to live with such threats. Why Earth was so dangerous. Sora's lights shifted to a gentle purple. I am sorry for your loss. But I think I understand now. Earth made humans strong not through its predators but through its diseases. You learned medicine because you had to. You learned cooperation because individuals cannot survive alone. You learned to think systematically because you needed to track invisible enemies. THFY smiled. That is a good way to think about it. Earth taught us many hard lessons. The mosquito is just one of them. They walked out of the auditorium together. Behind them, other students discussed what they had learned. The conversation had shifted from fear of Earth's predators to respect for how humans had survived despite everything their worry. The alarm came at 3 a.m, station time. THFY woke instantly to red emergency lights flashing in his quarters. The translation device on his nightstand crackled to life. All students remain in your quarters. This is not a drill. The academy is in lockdown. Medical emergency in progress. Await further instructions. Dean Yuna's crystalline voice was calm but firm. THFY sat up, fully awake now. Medical emergency. Lockdown. His mind went immediately to what he had discussed in class just hours before. Disease, contagion, invisible threats. He checked his communication device. Messages were flooding in from other students. Hiram was worried. Jaewon was asking logical questions about the nature of the emergency. Sora's message glowed with concern. Even Jinho, usually confident, seemed uncertain about what to do. THFY sent a message to all of them. Stay calm. Follow instructions. Do not leave your quarters unless told to do so by academy officials. If this is a disease outbreak, staying isolated is the safest thing. 2 hours passed. More announcements came. 3 students had fallen ill with an unknown pathogen. The medical wing was in full quarantine. All classes were suspended. Food would be delivered to quarters. Then Daeho's personal communication device chimed with a priority signal. It was Dean Yuna herself. "Mr. Kim, we need your assistance. Please come to the medical wing. Wear protective equipment. A security escort is outside your door." Daeho dressed quickly and opened his door. 2 security officers in full containment suits waited for him. They gave him a suit of his own. It was designed for human physiology, which meant the academy had these prepared specifically for him. That was both comforting and concerning. The walk to the medical wing was strange. The academy's usually busy corridors were empty and silent. Emergency lights cast everything in red. Daeho's footsteps echoed in the containment suit. Dean Yuna met him at the medical wing entrance. Her crystalline body refracted the red light into sharp patterns. "Mr. Kim, thank you for coming. We have a situation that requires your expertise." She led him into a command center. Holographic displays showed data about the 3 sick students. Medical staff from various species moved between stations, their body language showing stress and confusion. The pathogen came in with a shipment of biological specimens for xenobiology studies. Dean Yuna explained. 3 students who handled the specimens are now showing symptoms: fever, respiratory distress, and cellular breakdown. "We have never seen this pathogen before." Daeho studied the displays. The medical data was clear. This was bad. "Why did you call me?" "I am a student, not a doctor." "Because most species in the galactic community eliminated infectious diseases thousands of years ago," Dean Yuna said. "We have medical technology, but we lack experience with outbreaks. Our protocols are theoretical. Your species deals with disease outbreaks regularly. You have practical knowledge we need." Daeho understood immediately. This was like his mosquito lecture, but real and urgent. "I can try to help, but I need to contact someone on Earth. Someone with actual medical training and outbreak experience." "Already arranged," Dean Yuna said. She gestured to a communication station. "We have an open channel to Earth's Planetary Defense Initiative." Daeho sat at the station and initiated the call. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but alert. "This is Dr. Minji Park, Epidemiology Division. I am told you have an outbreak situation." "Dr. Park, I am Daeho Kim, student at the Galactic Academy. We have 3 infected individuals. Unknown pathogen, possible species jumping ability. The Academy's medical staff has limited outbreak experience." Minji's expression became sharp and focused. "Understood. First things first. Has anyone died?" "Not yet," Daeho replied. "Good, that gives us time. I need you to walk the medical staff through basic outbreak protocols. Start with contact tracing." Daeho looked at Dean Yuna. "Do you have a record of everyone who came in contact with the 3 sick students?" "We can access that data," Dean Yuna replied. "Our security systems track all movements in the academy." "Pull up those records," Minji instructed through the screen. "Identify everyone who had direct physical contact with the infected individuals in the last 72 hours. Those people need to be isolated and monitored immediately." The medical staff moved quickly. Within minutes, they had identified 47 students and staff who had close contact with the infected. Dean Yuna immediately ordered them into medical isolation. Next, Minji continued, environmental sterilization. Anywhere the infected individuals have been needs to be cleaned thoroughly. Air systems need to be purged and filtered. This pathogen could be airborne. Daeho translated this to the medical staff. They had the technology, but had not thought to use it this way. Within an hour, cleaning teams in full containment gear were working through every corridor and room the infected students had visited. "Now the hard part," Minji said. "You need to find the source. Where did this pathogen come from? What was in that shipment?" Dean Yuna pulled up shipping records, biological specimens from Kepler 442b, a world being evaluated for colonization. The specimens included plant samples, soil microbes, and small invertebrates. "Destroy them," Minji said immediately. "All of them. Complete sterilization. No exceptions," a xenobiology professor objected. "Those specimens are valuable research materials. We cannot simply—" "You can and you must," Daeho said firmly. "Every second those specimens exist is another chance for the pathogen to spread. Earth has lost millions of people because someone thought preserving samples was more important than containment." Dean Yuna made the decision. Destroy all specimens from that shipment. Use the high-temperature sterilization chambers. The next 12 hours were intense. Daiho stayed in the medical wing, relaying instructions from Minji to the medical staff. They established quarantine zones. They created symptom monitoring protocols. They set up dedicated communication channels for health updates. Slowly, the situation stabilized. The 3 infected students began to respond to broad-spectrum treatments. No new cases appeared. The 47 isolated individuals showed no symptoms. At hour 36, Dean Yuna declared the outbreak contained. The lockdown would continue for another 48 hours as a precaution, but the immediate danger had passed. Daiho finally took off his containment suit. He was exhausted. Minji was still on the screen looking equally tired but satisfied. "You did good work, Daiho," she said. "You may have saved lives today." "I just followed your instructions," Daiho replied. "Which is exactly what you should do in an outbreak," Minji said with a slight smile. "Follow established protocols. Do not panic. Work systematically. That is how humans have survived every epidemic." Dean Yuna approached Daiho. Her crystalline structure seemed dimmer, which he had learned meant exhaustion in her species. "Mr. Kim, on behalf of the Academy, I thank you. Your knowledge prevented what could have been a catastrophic outbreak." "It was not really my knowledge," Daiho said. "It was humanity's knowledge. We have been fighting diseases for thousands of years. We learned these lessons through trial and error, through millions of deaths. We paid a high price for this knowledge, and now you share it freely," Dean Yuna observed. "That is admirable. I would like to request that Earth's disease management protocols be formally added to our Academy's emergency procedures. If you and Dr. Park would be willing to help us develop appropriate training materials," Minji spoke from the screen, "we would be honored to help. Disease does not respect species boundaries. If the galactic community is going to grow and explore new worlds, you need to be prepared for pathogens you have never seen before." The next day, when lockdown lifted and classes resumed, Daiho found himself surrounded by other students. They wanted to know what had happened. How had he known what to do? Sora's lights pulsed with gratitude. "You saved us, Daiho. If that pathogen had spread through the Academy—" "I just applied what humans have learned," Daiho said. "You remember the mosquito lecture? Invisible threats require different responses than visible ones. You cannot fight a pathogen with strength or armor. You fight it with knowledge, protocols, and systematic action." Jaewon's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Your lecture was not simply academic. It was preparing us for exactly this kind of situation." "Every lecture about Earth is preparing you for something," Daiho replied. "Because Earth is unpredictable. We face constant challenges, so we learn to be ready for anything." Hiram's scaled skin had returned to its normal color. "I understand now why humans seem so calm about danger. You live with it constantly. You have learned to manage fear and think clearly even in crisis." Daiho nodded. "That is survival on Earth. You adapt or you die." Humans chose to adapt. Professor Kelver's next lecture came 2 weeks after the outbreak. The topic was invasive species and ecological disruption. Daiho sat in his usual seat flanked by Sora and Hiram. The atmosphere in class had changed since the outbreak. Students paid more attention now. They asked better questions. The professor displayed examples from various worlds, species that had spread beyond their natural habitats, ecosystems that had collapsed, worlds that had never recovered. Then the display changed to show Earth. "And now we examine humanity's impact on their own planet," Professor Kelver said. His voice was neutral, but something in his tone made Daiho tense. The hologram showed a graph. Species extinction rates over time. The line was relatively flat for millions of years. Then about 10,000 years ago it began to rise. In the last few centuries it had spiked dramatically upward. Human civilization has caused what scientists call the sixth mass extinction event, Professor Kelvar stated. Hundreds of species have been permanently removed from existence. Many more are critically endangered. More images appeared. Forests stripped bare. Oceans choked with plastic. Rivers running black with pollution. Animals extinct or dying. The data was undeniable and brutal. The classroom was silent. Every student looked uncomfortable. Most of them looked at Daiho. He could feel their stares, their questions, their judgment. Professor Kelvar continued. Humans hunted the woolly mammoth to extinction. They destroyed the passenger pigeon, once numbering in the billions. They eliminated the Tasmanian tiger. The list goes on. Some of Earth's most magnificent predators exist now only in records and preserved DNA. Jinho's voice rumbled from the back. Mr. Kim, you told us about the dangers humans face on Earth. You spoke of your resilience and adaptation, but you did not mention that humans themselves are Earth's most dangerous species. Daeho had known this lecture was coming. He had seen it on the class schedule. He had prepared, but preparation did not make this easier. He stood up slowly. You are right, Daeho said. His voice was steady but quiet. Humans are incredibly destructive. We have caused massive damage to our own planet. We have driven species to extinction. We have poisoned our air and water. We have destroyed forests that took thousands of years to grow. We have filled our oceans with waste. We nearly destroyed the only world we have. The silence deepened. No one had expected him to agree so completely. We became apex predators not through natural evolution, but through intelligence and tools, Daeho continued. We learned to hunt in coordinated groups. We developed weapons that could kill from a distance. We created agriculture that changed entire landscapes. We built cities that covered hundreds of square kilometers. We invented machines that could extract resources from deep underground and high in the mountains. He gestured to the holographic display. Every one of those extinct species, every destroyed habitat, every polluted river, humans did that. We were so focused on our own survival and growth that we did not see the damage we were causing, or we saw it and did not care. Hiram's voice was soft. Then how is your species still here? How did Earth not reject you? Ecosystems have balance. When one species becomes too destructive, natural forces usually eliminate it. That almost happened, Daeho admitted. We came close to destroying ourselves along with our world. Climate change threatened our food supplies. Pollution poisoned the air we breathed. We overfished our oceans until they were nearly empty. Wars over resources killed millions. We were on a path to extinction. So what changed? Sora asked. Her lights flickered with genuine curiosity. Daeho brought up his own data on the holographic system. New images appeared. Forests growing back, ocean cleanup operations, solar panels and wind farms, wildlife preserves, scientists releasing captive-bred animals into protected habitats. We changed, Daeho said simply. Not all at once. Not easily. But we changed. We recognized what we were doing. We acknowledged the damage. And we decided to fix it. He showed more data. We developed renewable energy sources. We created conservation programs. We banned the most harmful pollutants. We established protected zones where wildlife could recover. We started massive reforestation projects. We cleaned our oceans. We used our intelligence, the same intelligence that caused the problems, to solve them. J1's mandibles clicked. But you cannot undo extinction. The species that died are gone forever. That is true, Daeho acknowledged. We cannot bring back everything we destroyed. But we are trying. We have de-extinction programs using preserved DNA. We have brought back several species that were extinct in the wild. We have saved dozens more from the edge of extinction. And most importantly, we have learned. He looked around the classroom. We learned that short-term thinking leads to long-term disaster. We learned that destroying our environment means destroying ourselves. We learned that we are part of Earth's ecosystem, not separate from it. Every species we eliminate weakens the entire system, including humans. Professor Kelvar's tentacles moved in complex patterns. Mr. Kim, you speak of learning and change, but how can we trust that humans will not regress? Your history shows both creation and destruction, both compassion and cruelty. You are unpredictable. We are, Daeho agreed. Humans are capable of great good and great harm. That is our nature, but I would argue that is also our strength. He pulled up more images. Global cooperation agreements. International environmental treaties. Nations working together on climate change. Rich countries helping poor countries develop sustainable technology. The same intelligence that let us dominate Earth's ecosystems also gave us the ability to protect them, Daeho explained. The same social structures that allowed us to coordinate massive destruction also allow us to coordinate massive restoration. The same technology that polluted our world now cleans it. Sora's light shifted to a thoughtful green. So Earth made you tough through its dangers, but also made you conscious through your mistakes. Exactly, Daeho said. We survived the mosquitoes and the predators and the diseases. That made us resilient. But surviving our own destructiveness made us wise. We had to learn to think beyond our individual needs. We had to learn to plan for generations ahead. We had to learn to value life, even life that does not directly benefit us. Jinho stood up. His armor plates shifted, but not in challenge this time. In respect. I owe you another apology, Daeho. I thought Earth's dangers made humans weak for needing constant vigilance. Now I see they made you strong in ways my species never needed to be. We never had to learn restraint because our world had nothing we could destroy. You learned it because you had to. Professor Kelvar's color shifted to a lighter purple. Class, Mr. Kim has illustrated something important. Intelligence without wisdom leads to self-destruction. Humans nearly learned this lesson too late, but they did learn it. That transformation is why they were accepted into the galactic community. He turned to face Daeho directly. I must admit, when humans first applied for membership, I voted against acceptance. I thought your species too young, too violent, too destructive. I have reconsidered. The outbreak showed me your practical wisdom. Today's discussion shows me your philosophical wisdom. You understand that power requires responsibility. The lecture continued with discussions about other species and their environmental impacts, but the energy had shifted. The students no longer saw humans as simply survivors from a death world. They saw them as a species that had faced their own darkness and chosen to change. After class, as students filed out, Hieram approached Daeho. Thank you for being honest about your species' mistakes. Many would have hidden them or made excuses. Hiding mistakes does not help anyone, Daeho replied. If other species are going to understand humans, they need to know all of us. The good and the bad. We are not perfect. We are just trying to be better. As Daeho walked back to his quarters, his communication device chimed. It was a message from Dean Yuna, requesting a meeting the next morning. The message was formal and gave no details. Daeho had a feeling his time at the academy was about to change again. The meeting chamber was more formal than anywhere Daeho had been in the academy. The walls were made of crystalline structures that refracted light into rainbow patterns. 5 representatives from the Galactic Council sat in a semicircle. Dean Yuna stood to one side. Daeho felt suddenly very alone and very human. The council representative in the center spoke first. She was from the Velithian species, one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Her voice was ancient and measured. Mr. Kim, you have been summoned because questions have been raised about humanity's status in the galactic community. Daeho's stomach dropped, but he kept his expression neutral. I understand. Your recent lectures and the outbreak incident have drawn attention. The Velithian continued. Some council members are concerned. Earth has a violent history. Your species has caused significant ecological damage. There are questions about whether humans are ready for full integration into our community. Another representative, a being made of shifting energy patterns, spoke next. We have seen species with promising starts fall back into destructive patterns. We must ensure that does not happen with humanity. The Velithian looked directly at Daeho. We have reviewed your academic records. We have watched recordings of your lectures. We have read Professor Kelvar's reports. Now we want to hear from you directly. Can you guarantee that humanity will never again pose a threat to itself or to other species? The question hung in the air. Daeho could feel the weight of it. Not just for himself, but for all of humanity. Whatever he said now could determine Earth's future in the galaxy. He took a breath and met the Velithian's gaze. No, I cannot guarantee that. The representative stirred. Even Dean Yuna looked surprised. I cannot guarantee what any species will do in the future, Daeho continued. Humans are not perfect. We make mistakes. We have proven that throughout our history. But I can tell you why our history makes us valuable, not dangerous. The Velithian gestured for him to continue. Earth forced us to learn things most species never need to learn, Daeho said. We understand conflict because we have experienced it. We understand disease because we live with it. We understand environmental collapse because we caused it and then fixed it. We know how to recognize threats early because we have been threatened constantly. He pulled up his datapad and projected images into the chamber. When the outbreak happened at this academy, it was human protocols that contained it. Not because humans are smarter or stronger, but because we have experience with disease that most galactic species eliminated thousands of years ago. That experience is valuable. You asked about mosquitoes in my first lecture, Daeho continued. They kill 750,000 humans every year. They have killed billions throughout our history, and we still have not eliminated them, because we learned that ecosystem collapse is worse than living with the threat. He showed images of conservation efforts, protected habitats, species recovery programs. We chose coexistence over domination. We learned that destroying something because it threatens us often causes worse problems. That lesson came from mosquitoes, but it applies to everything. The energy being flickered. That is a philosophical argument. We need practical assurances. Then consider this, THFY said. The galactic community has thrived in peace for thousands of years. That is admirable. But it has also made you unprepared for certain challenges. You have no recent experience with pandemics. You have no experience with environmental restoration on a massive scale. You have limited experience with conflict resolution between diverse populations. He brought up more data. Colony worlds facing resource depletion, species having difficulty coexisting, new diseases emerging as different species interacted. These problems are starting to appear as your community grows. Humans have practical solutions because we have faced all of these problems before. A third representative, a being with multiple crystalline structures, spoke for the first time. You suggest that Earth's hardships prepared humanity to help the galaxy? Yes, THFY said firmly. Every species brings something unique to the galactic community. Humans bring knowledge bought with suffering. We know how to survive. We know how to adapt. We know how to change when change is necessary. And most importantly, we know how to share that knowledge. The chamber doors opened. Professor Kelvar entered, followed by a group of students. Sora, Jaewon, Hiram, and Jinho, even students THFY barely knew. Forgive the interruption, Professor Kelvar said, addressing the council. But I felt the council should hear from those who have learned from Mr. Kim directly. Sora stepped forward first. Her lights pulsed with confidence. I come from a world with no predators, no diseases, no hardships. When the outbreak happened, I was paralyzed with fear. THFY taught me that fear is natural, but action is necessary. He taught me to think systematically even in crisis. That lesson saved lives. Jaewon clicked his mandibles. My species values logic above all. I initially dismissed human emotion as weakness, but I learned that human emotional intelligence allows them to understand suffering, to feel empathy, to motivate cooperation. Logic alone is not enough for survival. You need both mind and heart. Jinho's armor plates rattled softly. I thought strength meant size and weapons. Humans showed me that strength also means endurance, adaptability, and the courage to admit mistakes. They showed me that the strongest choice is sometimes choosing not to fight. Hiram spoke last, her voice steady despite her nervous nature. My people are peaceful because our world never required anything else. We have no frame of reference for hardship. Humans do. And instead of becoming cruel because of their hardships, they became compassionate. They understand suffering, so they work to prevent it. That is the kind of species the galaxy needs. Professor Kelvar addressed the council directly. I initially opposed human membership. I saw only their violence and destruction. But I was wrong. Yes, humans made terrible mistakes. Yes, they caused great harm. But they recognized their errors and changed course as a global civilization. That transformation is unprecedented in my thousands of years of studying species development. Dean Yuna added her voice. The outbreak could have killed dozens. Could have shut down the academy for months. Human knowledge and human willingness to help prevented that. Mr. Kim did not ask for payment, did not demand recognition. He simply shared what his species had learned through suffering. That is the spirit of cooperation that built the galactic community. The council representatives conferred among themselves in low voices and private channels. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Finally, the Velithian spoke. We have made our decision. Humanity will retain full membership in the galactic community, with one condition. Earth must establish an advisory division to assist other worlds with crisis management, disease control, environmental restoration, and conflict resolution. Your hard-won knowledge must become a galactic resource. The Velithian looked at THFY. Mr. Kim, we were wrong to see your history as only a liability. It is also your greatest asset. You have lived through challenges we forgot existed. You have developed wisdom we lack. Welcome to full partnership in the galactic community. THFY felt something release in his chest. Relief, pride, hope. Thank you. On behalf of humanity, we accept. 6 months later, THFY stood at the front of a packed auditorium. He had completed his studies with honors. Now he was teaching his first official course as Earth's liaison to the new Galactic Crisis Response Institute. The lecture hall was full. Students from dozens of species filled the seats. Sora, Jaewon, Hiram, and Jinho sat in the front row. They had all signed up for his course. Behind Daeho, the holographic display showed a single image, a mosquito, magnified to show every detail of its small but perfect form. Today we begin a course on understanding invisible threats, Daeho announced. We will study diseases, environmental degradation, system failures, and other dangers that are not obvious but can be catastrophic. We start with the creature that has killed more humans than any other in history. A new student, a crystalline being from a world without pathogens, raised a limb. Why would any species allow such a dangerous creature to survive? Daeho smiled. It was a good question, the kind of question that led to understanding. That is exactly what we are going to explore. Let me tell you about ecosystems balance, and why humans learned that sometimes the greatest strength is knowing what not to destroy. As he began the lecture, his communication device showed a message from Minji Park back on Earth. She had been watching the live stream. You are teaching them what took us millennia to learn. Make them understand. It is not about conquering the dangers. It is about respecting them, adapting to them, and finding a way to coexist. That is the human way. That is how we survived. That is what we can teach them. Daeho looked out at the alien students filling the auditorium. Each one unique. Each one curious. Each one ready to learn from Earth's hard lessons. He thought about Earth. His violent, beautiful, dangerous, nurturing homeworld. The world that taught humanity to be tough and tender, destructive and creative, ruthless and compassionate. The world that nearly killed humanity but instead made them worth knowing. Let me tell you about the mosquito, Daeho began, and why only just begun.